Rock Salt Muzkast Experience. Aaron, Dave, and Patrick. Well, no Patrick.
ADP in the hell.
Here in spirit.
Yes.
On the line from Red Letter Rising, it's David, and I don't know where he's from. Help me, Aaron.
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Wow.
Were you born and raised in North Carolina?
Yeah. Yep. Born and raised. Actually, am back in my hometown. Well, I grew up in one town. That's my hometown, but I was born in another town, and now I'm back in that town, High Point.
I can see.
I'm lost already, man.
High Point, North Carolina.
And now, you guys didn't get bothered by the hurricanes, right?
Just a lot of annoying rain and wind. Actually, I got a cool little video of a tree being knocked down right in front of my house.
So just a bad storm for you guys, not
basically
destruction.
Yeah, I mean,
all right,
definitely not as bad as Florida got for sure.
Yeah, prayers to Florida. So, you're in Red Letter Rising on Broadhead Music, and we thank you for being here today. You have 3 songs on Spotify, and when I went to the tracks, Aaron, can I see your Spotify real fast? Because I'm really bad with names, David. I'm really sorry, but I started with Serenity's Last Call, and I went, this is interesting. And then I went into I think it was Identity, and I went, yeah. And then I got to Truth of Life. I went, yeah. So it was like actually listening to the beginning of an album for you guys. I was like, start out with that and that, go to that. And you guys are doing new metal, and there's not a lot of new Christian new metal out there.
Yeah. Serenity's Last Call was actually what I call an audible. It wasn't a part of the game plan. It's a standalone single. It's not even gonna be on the album at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that was it was something that God I had a friend who passed away of overdose, and he went to our church, and it was just a big hit to our church and a lot of people. And within a couple of days of him passing, I don't want to sound weird, but I do a lot of thinking in the shower. And so I was in the shower, and it was like God put on my heart to write a song about it, because I was thinking about the perspective excuse me, of someone faced with relapse, having over a year, almost a year and a half clean, and then faced with relapse, and what's going through their mind in that moment. And so the lyrics are from that perspective. Just wanted to touch base on the real struggle, because it's not real happy. It's dark.
Well, it wasn't I won't say I was uplifted. I'll say that, you know, but I'm not saying it's a bad song. I'm certainly not telling you how to create your art. Just for me, as I was listening to it, I was like, I could totally see this being an album. It had that kind of flow between those 3 songs, that you start with that one and go to that one, and then it builds up to that one, and you're like, that's the single, man. That's the hit. Because that's how I got into radio in the 80s, and that's how I listened to albums. I go, okay, all right, build up. Yeah, there's the hit. Okay, next. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a solid B side. That's how I listen to music. So
right.
I get it that other people don't. And I'm certainly not telling you how to create your art, but it's just so good. And it made me want a full album of new metal from Red Letter Rising.
Well, you're in luck, Dave, because I guess they're completing an album. Aren't you working on one?
Yeah, the album, as far as tracking, I'd say probably mixing, mastering, everything's done. We just got to go back in and kind of tweak some things, fine tune some things. Because I started out recording, we recorded the whole thing with Dylan McLean from Relentless Flood. And he was kind of up and coming at the time. And since we started recording, he's really gained some traction. And of course, the more you do something, the better you get at it, the more equipment you get, the better equipment you get. And so it sort of, I think, and I'm speaking for myself here, that from the first song that I recorded with Dylan to the last song is a little bit of a story of his progression as a recording engineer. So we find ourselves, third or fourth song into it, like going back and sort of revising some of the first things that we did. So the album's pretty much done. I got one more single that's going to come out before we drop the album, and just going to kind of, I don't know, man, like we talked about free flowing a minute ago. I think that we definitely need to be responsible, and we definitely need to have plans. But when it comes to ministry, there's a lot of it that if I'm not careful, I'll try to control, and I don't want to do that. So I literally try to follow the guidance of the Holy Spirit on what to do and when to do it. And that's kind of how Serena's Last Call came out. That song was written, recorded, mixed, mastered, and even shot a video in less than 3 weeks, and I put it out.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to say it was all done in your shower. But 3 weeks is quite the marathon to put all that together.
Oh my goodness. I called Dylan up because we released it on International Overdose Awareness Day. And I literally called Dylan up because he was working on Truth of Life to get it ready for the next single. And I called him at like 10 o'clock at night, and I was like, dude, forget Truth of Life. I'm about to send, because I track everything at home, and then I send it to Dylan, and then he'll, either I'll go into the studio and retrack some things, or whatever. We just kind of flow with it on how it works best. But I pretty much tracked everything at home, sent it to him for him to mix and master it. And he's like, bro, you're going to kill him. Like, you're killing me here. Like, I'm working on this, and now you're throwing this. So yeah, I'm a little bit of a headache sometimes.
I am too with this show. And I'm a controlling type of person anyways. I got that kind of personality that I just want to, I have a vision, and that's the way I want it to go. And I have to tune. Well, I don't have to. I do tune out outside opinions sometimes, and I really shouldn't. And I try to be more open to that. And Aaron keeps me on track with that. And he, but that's kind of how it is with this show is, I have this vision about it. Aaron is a huge part of it. Patrick's a huge part of it. But typically I'm sending a lot of the ideas out to the other guys and going, what do you think? Is that how it is with you? Like, you're putting it together and you're sending it out to everybody else, and then they kind of put their spin on it as well. And it's a collaborative thing that way, but you're kind of spearheading it.
Yes and no. So just kind of giving a little backstory. So I was incarcerated for 15 months, got out February 2018, and battled depression and severe panic attacks for over a year. And I was by myself, had a family before I went in, got out. I don't have a family. I don't have anybody. Like, I'm by myself now. And my guitar and my laptop was what God used to keep me from killing myself. That and my dog, to be honest with you. I went and rescued a dog from the shelter, and between my guitar, writing music, and my dog, that's how I survived. And so I started writing all these songs and posting them on my YouTube channel, my personal YouTube channel. Well, I would reach, like, I've known Luke since like early 2000s, like 2002, 2003, we played in a band together. And I was hitting him up, and I was like, dude, check this out. I got this part, but I don't really know what to do with this. What should I do? And he's like, oh, you got it, man. You got it. You can do it. It is like he was a cheerleader, but I wanted him, like, come join me, come be a part of it. Help me make this be something. But again, Luke is just so busy. He just couldn't. It's not that he didn't want to, he just couldn't. And so a lot of no's from people is what, excuse me, I got allergies going on right now. A lot of no's is what God has used to direct me. So when people say no, it's like, fine, I'll do it myself. So when it came time to go into the studio, it was just for the simple idea of recording an album. That was it. It was not going to be a band. I didn't have a singer. I didn't have anything. I'm just a guitar player who plays drums and plays bass. That's it. And so I'm writing all these songs, and I had a singer who was supposed to come in the studio to put vocals to the songs, and they weren't able to do it. Again, another no. So I go into the studio with Dylan, and it's like I'm sitting there. Okay, I'm not a singer. I can't do this. I can't scream. I can't rap. I can't do any of these things. And, you know, you can still hear sort of there's room to grow. Like if you listen to it, there's room to grow. There's a lot of studio magic that makes it sound at least as good as it does, but I still have a lot of room to grow as a vocalist. But when it came time to, because before it's like, if I try to write a melody line to something that I wrote, and the guitar, say the guitar's like dun 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 dun, then the vocals are going dun 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 dun. Like I'm writing the same thing vocally as I am guitar. I could not figure out how to come up with something different. But again, God just was stirring things and using things, and it went from just recording an album to talking to Jeffrey from Broadhead Music Group, to talking about signing, to talking about playing festivals and stuff. And so at that point, that's when I reached out to Luke and I said, dude, I need at least bare minimum, a guitar player and a drummer. You know, bassist, I'm sorry, bassist, but we can do without you. We love you and we want you, but we can do it without you. So we were planning on just running bass through tracks, as some bands still do. I do want a bass player though, by the way. And that's how I got Luke. And he was like, well, I got a friend named David who plays drums. I'm sure he'd be interested in doing it. And one of the things that David talked about was, like what you said, there's not a lot of Christian bands that are like this. So that's one thing that really struck him. And he was like, dude, I want to be a part of this. So it just kind of evolved. It kind of grew and became what it became on its own.
Wow. Well, I do want to put this out there. If you haven't heard our show, I am a percussionist, and I like to offer my services to bands. I play a plethora of instruments like cowbell, triangle, tambourine. Yeah. You know, I can play those. I can play those instruments. There's not enough cowbell in new metal.
Yeah.
That's where it freezes.
Now you're going to challenge me.
See, I'm a muse, Aaron.
Hey, the song "Truth to Life."
Yeah, I like out of the box.
See, always thinking out of the box, Aaron.
Yes. The "Truth to Life" song. Tell our audience about that song.
Oh my goodness, I have to censor myself.
Okay.
I'm not the best interviewer-y, if that's a word. So Truth to Life was a thorn in my side. Again, God picked the songs. God decided what songs were going to be on this. He made it 10 songs on the album. I'm sitting here like, okay, I don't even want to do this song anymore. Let's just make it 9. Nope, it's got to be 10. Well, what if I just replace it with another song and put another song? Nope, it's got to be this one. Truth of Life just had to be there. And I rewrote the lyrics. I mean, I write everything on notes. In fact, a lot of the lyrics come from my notes that I would type in when I was having a panic attack. That's what God allowed me to, like, what He used for me to kind of focus my thoughts, to get everything in there. because my brain goes crazy all over the place. And so I could scroll so many times through all the notes, all the lyrics that I wrote for Truth of Life. And the first thing turned out sounds so corny and so, 90s youth group rap. And
I love that
as
90s
a
youth group.
white-
Yes.
yeah, as a white dude, I already gotta be careful about how corny I sound anyway.
Right.
So man, I hated the song. I did not like it. But I knew it had to go on the album. So I'm talking to Dylan about it one day, and he said, dude, why don't you hit Miggy up from Relent? See if he'll jump on it. And as soon as he said that, it was like, yes. Oh my goodness, yes. If anybody can do anything with this, he can. So I reached out to Miggy, and dude, it was within an hour. We're on the phone talking about it. And I'm just like so motivated now and so inspired. Talking to him. He's like, dude, I love doing this stuff. And I'm like, yes. So collaborated with him, and he had some issues going on. I mean, he's touring in 2 different bands. He had some he's got family life, stuff like that. So it took a little longer than either one of us wanted it to be. But again, that was just another reason. It's like, you know what? I'm done with this song. Like, I don't even want to do it. And then one day, like, just got it nailed down. Like, I rewrote the lyrics and stuff and sent him what I had, and he loved what I had. And so we just we stacked the bricks until we finally got something. But as far as the meaning of it, the name of the song is a play on words, kind of like Identity Christ Is, which is identity crisis, but Christ is our identity. Proof of life. This is truth of life. And the truth of life is that we have a purpose, that God made us on purpose and for a purpose. And lyrically, it's about me kind of growing up as a rebellious kid, like just challenging everything, going against everything. I mean, by the time I was 16 years old, I was in witchcraft and started actually dabbling in Satanism because I was sick of the church. I was sick of Christianity. I didn't want anything to do with it. And actually, it's kind of funny because Marilyn Manson is what I got involved in at 16. And that's actually what got me into music in the first place. So God causes all things to work together for good. Even
Amen to that.
I mean, use Pharaoh, right? So
Yeah.
So
Well,
Truth of Life is about me as a rebellious kid and my grandparents. One of the lines in there, living on the prayers from the Grams and the Gramps. Like, they raised me, they prayed for me, they prayed that prayer, Lord, whatever it takes. And man, I remember one day in the kitchen arguing with them and screaming, stop praying that prayer over me. I can't get away with anything. So that's what it's about.
Great. Well, here's the song Truth of Life on the Rock Salt Muzkast Experience.
Rock Salt Muzkast Experience. Aaron, Dave, and Patrick. And Aaron, you just dropped your phone on the floor. Is it okay?
Yes.
It's okay. You didn't break your screen?
No.
And on the Zoom today, we've got David all the way from North Carolina with Red Letter Rising. Hey, we gotta give a shout out to Broadhead Music. Thanks for sending us these great bands.
Yes.
Yeah. And you survived the storm, and you're in your shades. It looks like a bright sunny day out there.
The sun is coming out now.
All right. You wear your shades everywhere?
I do. Inside, outside. Sometimes I worry about our church is we have a lot of recovery ministries that are there, and we partner with them, and our church is big on Celebrate Recovery. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that ministry. So when I wear my glasses indoors, I'm like, man, they're gonna think I got a hangover or something.
And I don't mean it from the hangover side. I just mean it from the recovery side. It's like, well, you probably encountered a lot of people wearing sunglasses inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a negative thing. It's just the way life goes. That's all I'm saying. Now we're gonna do what song coming up here?
The Identity
Identity Crisis.
Yep.
So you mentioned that in the last break, and I didn't catch it when I was reading the titles to the song. It's spelled Identity Christ is.
Yeah.
And but if you say it fast, it's Identity Crisis.
Yeah.
So it's a double entendre sort of thing. What's it all about, man?
Well, I like thought-provoking things. If I'm speaking, given analogies, I use extreme analogies, shock value, thought-provoking things. And Identity Christ is a play on words from Identity Crisis, because we are all struggling in this world with our identity until we meet Jesus, until we have an encounter with Jesus, until, again, like I said a minute ago, if you look at God and Satan, God created everything for a purpose. He created everything on purpose and for a purpose. Well, the enemy, Satan, wants to take all of that and distort it so that it can be, it's not that this was created for this purpose. You can make it for whatever you want it to be, whatever's relative to you. And so that's why we have an identity crisis. And I'm not just speaking about, the popular topics now, as far as like transgenders and stuff like that, or, you can be whatever you want to be. It's just people out here. Why do people do drugs? Why do people gangbang? Why do people, break the laws? Because they're not living the purpose that God created them for. If we're living, it's not that we're not going to struggle. Even then, we will. But, when we're on the path that God created us for, we know who we are. And there's no confusion. There's no questioning about anything. That's why, think about the richest people in the world. They wear the same clothes all the time. I'm sure they wear different outfits, but it's the same look. Why? Because that's one less thing that they have to worry about, one less thing they have to think about. So the more that we add in there, the more confusing that it can be. And going back to talking about my depression and panic attacks, the whole second verse of Identity Christ is from a writing that I did while I was having a panic attack. And it's just, it just, also, I'm coming from, when I got out of jail, I was being rejected by people that were supposed to love me. And I already had abandonment issues from my mom leaving when I was a kid. But when I've started facing this rejection, it's like, I don't know, I'm just such a blunt person. I'll call people out. Like, if you tell me that somebody over here said something about me, guess what? We all getting on the phone together. I'm going to call you out. We're going to talk about it. I'm not going to do that he says, she says stuff. So when it comes to writing these lyrics, there's some lyrics in there that are kind of dark, and it's just real. It's just raw. So that's what I was faced with at the time, where I'm battling these, panic attacks and this depression. And I felt like, God, I know who I am. I know that you made me for a purpose, everything that I just described, but I'm still struggling. Like, I'm still battling this depression. I'm still battling these panic attacks, and I don't understand it. So that's where that comes from. And that's, if you read the lyrics from understanding that, I think it might stand out a little bit differently to you.
Totally get it. It's like the light bulb went off over my head when you started talking about it. It all made sense, especially the identity Christ is. He's your identity. And that's really how Christians should walk, right?
Yep, absolutely.
I love it, man.
Yeah. I at our church we have a quite a big marriage class, and I'm in leadership of that. And a couple of our marriage retreats, in marriage retreat a couple of years ago, we had a couple, and that's what they focus on is your identity in Christ.
Awesome.
And it was such just a revelation to me. And I've been a Christian almost all my life, that I need to understand who I am in Christ, and how, I am a son of God, and God has called me to do some powerful things for his kingdom. And that is great that you've written a song, about that.
Did you guys get to check out the music video for it?
No,
I
I
have
haven't
not,
seen that. You
but
got some videos out there.
Yeah. So Identity Christ is and Serenity's Last Call have music videos for them. But when you watch the music video for Identity Christ is, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's got the main character who wakes up and you don't see his face, and he goes into the bathroom, does his little routine, and then he picks up this white, you've seen on the blank white mask, this like no expression, nothing. He puts on his mask and goes and gets in his car, and then he's on his way through his day, right? So he wakes up in this decent looking nice house, and he goes to his job, where when he gets to his job, he gets fired. And, he comes in, the boss just lays into him. He gets fired. He leaves from there. He gets a text from his wife. We need to talk. So they meet at this coffee shop, go in there, and she's sliding divorce papers. And then he leaves from there and he goes to a cemetery where they lost a child. And then from there, he goes and he buys a gun off the side of the street. And then he goes to a place where he's going to take his life. And each scenario are things that, especially in America, but mostly in the world, are all the things that we find our identity in our house, in our job, in our marriage, and being a parent, all these things. And once all these things were taken away from him, he was left with nothing. So his purpose that he found his identity in was taken away from him. And now he's at the point of taking his life. Well, throughout that video, you'll see a reoccurring character who's not wearing a mask. And each scene that there's other, even the people, the extras or whatever, everyone's got a mask on because we're all putting masks on. And in each scene, like when he goes to the job, after the boss fires him, he writes on his mask, useless. And then as soon as this other character's there with a rag to wipe it away, he puts on another mask that says, I'm okay. And then every single scenario, someone writes something on his mask that's useless, worthless, lifeless, hopeless, all these things. And Jesus was there every single time to try to wipe it away. I'll take this away from you. Nope, I'm good. Nope, I'm okay. I'm fine. But then at the end, when he's getting ready to take his life, he's at his end of his rope. There's Jesus again with open arms. Even though he's rejected him every single time, still got his arms open. At this time, less is on us because everything was less. Everything was to make him less than what he was. And so at the end, you get to see where he embraces him. And then there's the reveal where he takes his mask off and you finally get to see who he really is.
It sounds to me autobiographical, is it?
In a sense, yeah. There's some personal things in there. Yeah, because definitely our art, our creativity definitely comes from personal experiences.
See, and I think that is the main ingredient for an amazing song is if I can listen to a song and connect with it on an emotional level, and there's a few out there. Those are the best songs ever. I love simple songs like the presidents of the United States put out about, peaches or cats or whatever. But I also dig, songs that, like one that comes to mind is that Elton John song. They did it in Almost Famous, Tiny Dancer. I don't know what that song's about, but I'll tell you what, it connects with me on an emotional level that I go, that is one of the most amazing songs ever. And it seems to connect with a lot of people on that level.
Yeah.
So,
well, music's spiritual. So you can connect even without truly understanding. If you have a spiritual experience, regardless on what side of the spectrum it's on, it could be from Satan himself, it can be from God. You have a spiritual experience, you might not even understand it completely, but you know how it made you feel.
yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm talking about. So now, Red Letter Rising, did I take this right? You guys have only been around a couple of years?
Not even that.
Really? When did you start up?
Well, yeah, yes. Now, if my wife was here, she can give me the timelines. She has to direct me. I think January 2021 is when I first went into the studio and started recording and developed the name. Like I said, it wasn't going to be a band. It was just, I was like, dude, I'm like 40 now, and I don't even have a decent recording that I can play and say, I did that. So that was the whole goal. And then next thing you know, January of 2022, signing a deal with Broadhead Music Group.
Wow. That's kind of my story in doing this show is I did radio for so long, but I don't have any of the tapes of me ever being on air. And that was kind of one of my reasons for doing this, because I was like, I don't have anything of me doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's grown hair. It's, it really has grown hair, and it's awesome to just watch it slowly grow. And the same sort of thing. There's those moments that God just directs the show in a certain direction, and we just go, okay, we'll climb in the back seat, and we'll, the back seat of the country squire where you're facing backwards and looking at the traffic coming at you.
Yep.
That's where we are.
You know those experiences that you have, and I'm sure you've heard it 1,000 times, or the worship leader or the pastor or somebody, wherever you're at the event, they'll say, the Lord really showed up. The Lord's in the house. Lord, we welcome you in. Like, this is and I'm not trying to, I get where they're coming from, I get where their hearts are, but this is just me. I just challenge everything. God is everywhere. God is always. God is everything. But what it is, when you feel the cold chill, when you feel that moment of God's really here, that we're feeling the presence, it's, we finally are lining up. We are finally seeing, like, we've cut the crap out of our minds enough that we're, oh, there he is. And so if we just take that into our jobs and our normal lives, and just at the mall right now, so many missed opportunities of ministry because I'm focused on what I'm trying to do. But God is always working. He's always in it. He's always here. And it's those times like you're talking about right now that I've had to recognize and experience with this band is, okay, this wasn't what I was going for. This wasn't my real intentions or plan. But okay, you know what, God? I'm just going to let you do you.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it too.
So he turned you from a country band to a new metal band. I'm just
joking. Say country.
Yeah. The name of the band used to be Red Solo Cup Rising. Now it's just Red Letter Rising.
Yeah.
Red Dirt Road.
Our pastor said at my church I go to, he said a couple weeks ago, God isn't waiting. We aren't waiting. We should stop waiting on God, because God's waiting on us.
Yeah.
He's waiting for us to get in gear.
Yeah.
He's not, we should be waiting on, on him. He's waiting on us. And that's the way we should look at it. And I thought that was very good by my pastor.
So I want to know more about the band itself. Who's in the band?
Me. So I write everything, and so far I've tracked everything. As we do more stuff, then the others are going to get more involved, but everything's pretty much done by the time they got involved. But so I do vocals and everything that you've heard so far. I do, except for Dylan, track the drums in the songs. Luke DeMoss is the guitar player, and David Rourke, who I named Dave because I'm David. He is the drummer. So
Now, if you get another David, he has to be Davey.
Oh my goodness.
And you should do
Definitely.
it DAV-E.
Yeah.
Keep that play on words going, Well,
yeah. But joking about the bass players, I would like to get a bass player.
yeah, I think Protest is looking for a bass player as well, right? And we always direct people who are looking to bass players to John Cooper.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. He
I
doesn't
can't
know who
do
John
that,
Cooper
though.
is.
Yeah.
That was
Skillet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wondered because my joke flopped. But anyways,
I'm
who's
saying,
rapping?
like, I can't play bass and sing at the same time.
What's that?
I can't, like John Cooper, I can't play bass and sing at the same time.
Oh, John Cooper doesn't play bass and sing at the same time. You ever seen him
Sometimes.
live? You ever seen him live? Yeah,
I've never,
not much.
I've seen like footage, but I've seen him with the bass a few times.
Yeah, he doesn't play a whole lot of bass when he's got that bass on.
Oh,
Just letting you know, I'm not knocking
I
John Cooper. I think he plays bass on the tracks and stuff, but when he's live, he's really focusing on the singing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
But anyhow, who's rapping in this new metal? Because I want to know who that is.
And Truth of Life
Yeah,
or period.
Truth of Life.
So I'm
Is it
doing
two
the
different
verses.
people?
Yeah, I'm doing the verses and the choruses, and Miggy from Relent does the breakdown.
Okay. And how about in the other song? That was Truth of Life. So how about I'm sorry. Other song,
Yeah. Identity Crisis.
Identity Crisis. Thank
Yeah.
you.
That's me.
That's you.
Yep.
Wow, multi-talented. That
I don't know. I'm still trying to
amazing.
figure it out.
Well, good job. My hats off to you, because it like I said, it's I
Like-
don't want to liken you to Linkin Park, because Linkin Park is not who I thought of when I first heard you.
That's who I thought of, though.
Okay, but that's that's your go-to new metal is Linkin Park.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the
But-
most famous?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it sets the bar, right? I guess is one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And you're definitely right there. I mean, you've got that going on. You offer a nice alternative to Linkin Park, and maybe a little more uplifting lyrics than Linkin Park.
Yeah. So influence wise, I didn't realize, because like my all-time favorite band forever was Limp Bizkit.
Okay.
And so the rapping, as far as like direct influence, came from Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit. Musically, because I didn't even really hear what anything sounded like. Like musically, I felt like it maybe close to Breaking Benjamin would be the closest. Like I would hear that more so than anything. But I always felt like I had my own little unique twist to it. And, I don't think we're pioneering anything, but, you can still have your own twist to things. But when I got on vocals and started rapping and singing and screaming and all that, that's when I'm like, dude, that sounds just like, or that sounds just like that's when I started really hearing my influences come out.
Well, and it's not bad to have your influences and you know, take little pieces from here and there. Everybody does that. You know, as long as you give credit to your influences for where it came from. And I don't mean to say that you are just, you know, pigeonholed as a you know, a Limp Bizkit or Linkin Park knockoff. That's not what I'm saying at all, which is what I'm saying is there's so little of that available with positive Christian lyrics.
Yeah.
That I went, wow, this might be my new favorite band. Sorry, Patrick.
So funny little story. I've got a friend of mine who will go nameless. Love him to death. We've been friends for over 20 years. He's someone that I know he's going to be honest with me. I know that I'm not going to say critical. He's not like, he doesn't mean to be negative with anything he says. He just gives his opinion, and it helps kind of direct. It helps kind of guide me. But I would send him some things and he'd be like, man, it sounds just like, he was like, what'd you do? Listen to Breaking Benjamin before you wrote that? Or he's like, you sound just like Linkin Park. And I'm like, and it's
I'm listening to a lot of Barry Manilow right at the moment. So thank you very much.
But I'm thinking like, okay, so you're telling me that I sound just like one of the biggest rock bands in the world? Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, it's not
Well, you know, I gave you a compliment off air. Do you mind if I give it to you on air?
Go for it.
Okay. A band that I really like is Hollywood Undead. And when I first heard you rapping, I thought I was listening to Hollywood Undead, and I didn't want to, I wanted that to be a complete compliment because I really like a lot of their songs. And I think they have figured out a good niche for what they do. You can't really say Hollywood Undead sounds like anybody else. No. So, and I'm not saying that you just copied them, but that's the closest I could think of. And I went, you know, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, as far as sound goes, yeah. Content.
Well, the funny thing is, I don't even listen to radio. I don't listen to music. So
really,
I really don't. You can ask my wife, dude. I ride down the road quiet. I work. I have my own painting and remodeling business. I work for myself and I work by myself. I don't listen to music.
Wow. I would have a hard time with that. I couldn't ride in the truck with you to work. I'd be like, dude, we got to do something about this. I don't have that much to talk about.
I do.
And then I'd be like, dude, could you turn it off for a bit? I'd just like to listen to some music or something. Maybe
I
get
literally
in my own head.
I introduce myself to people as, you got to tell me when to be quiet.
You know, maybe that's what I should do, Aaron.
My name's David, and I'm not afraid to hear be quiet.
You know what? I'm going to start doing that from now on. Just my name's David, and if I talk too much, you can tell me to shut up. I won't be offended.
Yeah.
All right. Let's what song are we doing here?
Identity Crisis.
And
first of all, though, before it's how can people
I was going to go there.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. No, go.
Okay. How can people find out more information about Red Letter Rising?
So you can go to redletterrising.com. And that has links to everything else. But we are on primarily, I would say most traffic is through Instagram. We are on Facebook, we're on TikTok, we're on Twitter. I don't really man the Twitter at all. Honestly, I don't even like any of that. Like, I don't like that I have to constantly be posting things and constantly trying to stay relative. Honestly, what I try to do with my Instagram is just like interact with people. Like, I follow people who are struggling with things, and I like to, you know, build that connection and stuff like that. That's what I want to use social media for. But I have to do it the way that you're supposed to do it, I guess. So yeah, anything that we're doing is going to be definitely on Instagram, Facebook. But if you want just one source to go and kind of branch out from there, redletterrising.com.
When's the album gonna be out?
Yeah.
Oh, you stumped him, Aaron.
Well,
When it's
again,
out?
going back to, I can't.
See,
I don't like
David. Hey, let me stop you for a second. This is always the answer. When's the new album going to be out? When it's done.
Well,
See?
So in my business, I used to work for a guy that would come in and you'd come in and be like, well, you about done with that. All that's finishing up.
Yep. All you got to do, finish it up.
All that's finishing up. So,
yep.
So the album, this is the game plan. One more single, and the next one's going to have a music video because the next one is really raw, really deep. It's actually about my mom leaving me when I was 11. And it's from the perspective of the 11-year-old sitting on the front porch of my grandparents, waiting for her to come back, and she never shows up. So that's the next single. It's called Why. And I'm thinking probably let that get a little bit of traction. And I'm thinking maybe January, February, maybe spring, release the album somewhere in there.
Nice.
And then maybe a tour that follows that. Some dates in the region.
Yeah, I'm trusting God for that. Again, I know you're supposed to and I'm going by the advice I'm getting from people is you're supposed to hound people. You're supposed to constantly pester, hey, can I get on this show? Can I get on that? Dude, I'm gonna let God direct that. And as things come, again, sorry, everything's got a backstory, but when we read scripture, we need to read it with this perspective. There's God's part, and then there's our part. You can read, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Well, that last part is his part. The whole first part is our part. God causes all things to work together for good for those who love him, being called according to his purpose. There's God's part. He causes all things to work together for good, but there's our part for those who love him, being called according to his purpose. So there's our part that we play in everything that we do, and we just need to be ready so that when God says go, we can go. We're not sitting here saying, well, hold on. First, let me go tell my family bye. First, let me go bury my father. So we're preparing, we're getting ready. And if people want us to come, if churches, I want to do churches more than anything, because man, church needs a shaking.
I was just gonna say that. Shake me to wake me, as Steve Camp used to say back in the 80s, man. That the church definitely needs to be rattled around like a snow globe.
Yep. I feel like we have a good, fun, upbeat, in your face, true, real, raw sound that will go well with youth groups, youth events, stuff like that. So that's what I want to do. I'm praying that God will open those doors, and man, I'll go. I got an awesome, amazing wife who's so supportive, and just my life right now, again, the way things work out, you asked me a little bit during the break about, if I still have my family. Well, what the enemy meant for evil, God has used for good. And now I've got an amazing wife who, when it's time, I want to be ready.
Well, maybe God just, let you go through some downside there to make you appreciate what you have now.
It's a Christmas Carol situation of we're gonna show you what life's like when you live in like this. And of course, it was all my own doing. It was my choices that took me there. But definitely, shoot, man, me and my wife, tomorrow will be 2 years since our motorcycle accident,
Oh, wow.
and broke both arms and both hands. And she had to take care of me. Thank God all she got was road rash, but she had use your imagination. She had to do everything for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was a trooper. She didn't complain the least little bit. But before that, I was working this exterior paint job. My work van broke down. My truck broke down. My sprayer broke down. All these things were going wrong. And I kept saying, of course, you know, some else, of course. And I'll say to her, I'm glad you're here to see this, you know. And when we had that motorcycle accident, it wasn't, of course, it was, oh my goodness. I am so sorry. I've been mumbling. I've been grumbling. I've been like the Israelites out in the desert. Like, I am so sorry. I've not been thankful. And I believe that he allowed that motorcycle accident to happen. Whether he allowed or not, he used it for the purpose of getting my attention. That now, of course, is a dirty word in my house.
Well, kind of like, well, you think it's bad now. Maybe we should just let you see how bad it can really get.
Right. Again.
Yeah, it
Like
doesn't
a
look so
Christmas
bad
Carol.
no more, does it? It's kind of
Yeah.
like getting a whooping from your dad, you know?
So it was nothing but thankfulness after that, because it could have been worse. And
Yeah.
other than a little bit of, you know, issues with my left arm, full recovery, and just appreciation for
Oh,
everything.
awesome.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
So, hey, thank you for coming on, David.
Thank you
Great.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you. It's Red Letter Rising. You're out of North Carolina on Broadhead. Thank you to Broadhead.
Yes.
And what song are we doing here, Aaron?
Identity Crisis.
Here it is on the Rock Solid Muzkast Experience.